Alma stepped off the rusted bus, gripping the handle of her leather suitcase as dust swirled around her feet. The familiar scent of damp earth and wood smoke filled her lungs, evoking memories of childhood, evenings spent under the mango tree in front of their small hut. She had promised herself she wouldn't stay long, just a few days to see Mama Ife before returning to her life in the city. Her heels clicked against the uneven ground as she walked through the narrow path that led to her mother's house. Villagers turned to look at her, their whispers trailing after her like shadows. Alma has returned, one woman murmured. She looks even more beautiful, another added. Beauty will not save her from destiny, came an old man's voice. Alma ignored them, adjusting her sunglasses and focusing on the path ahead. She had no patience for superstitions and village gossip. She found Mama Ife sitting on the wooden bench outside their hut, weaving a basket with nimble fingers. The old woman looked up and smiled. "My daughter," she said warmly. Alma's face softened. "Mama." She dropped her suitcase and bent to embrace her. The hug was brief, as Mama Ife pulled back and studied her with piercing eyes. "You have changed, but your heart still beats the same," Alma chuckled. "Of course, Mama. I'm still me." They went inside, and Alma took in the familiar surroundings: the clay walls, the low wooden table, the pots stacked neatly in the corner. Nothing had changed. They ate in silence, enjoying the simple meal of yam and palm oil. Then, as Mama Ife wiped her hands on a cloth, she looked up and said the words that shattered Alma's world. "You must marry us." Alma froze, a piece of yam caught in her throat. She coughed violently, reaching for water. "What did you just say?" Mama Ife's gaze was steady. "You must marry us." Alma let out a sharp laugh. "Mama, that's not funny. It is not a joke." Alma slammed her hand on the table. "That madman, the one who speaks to spirits." Mama Ife nodded. "Yes." Alma stared at her mother, waiting for her to take it back. When she didn't, anger bubbled in her chest. "I left this village to make something of myself," she said, her voice shaking. "I have a good job. I live in a beautiful apartment. I have suitors, normal men, successful men. And you want me to marry a lunatic?" Mama Ife sighed, as though she had expected this reaction. "As is not what he seems. He walks around barefoot, talking to things that are not there. That is exactly what he seems." Mama Ife reached for her hand. "There are things you do not understand, my daughter. S has been chosen." "Chosen for what?" "To embarrass me." Mama Ife's expression darkened. "You are quick to mock, but the spirits do not play." Alma pulled her hand away. "Mama, I came here to see you, not to listen to nonsense." She stormed outside, needing air, needing to escape. But the village was small, and everywhere she went, she felt their eyes on her. "She does not know," an old woman whispered. "She will learn," a man responded. That night, sleep did not come easily. The wind howled through the trees, and in the distance, she heard Ez's voice. He was chanting again, speaking to the unseen. She pulled her blanket tighter around her. Then, the first strange thing happened. A loud crash sounded outside. Alma sat up, heart pounding. She rushed out and found the clay pot that had been hanging by the doorway, shattered into pieces. Mama Ife stood in the shadows, watching. "They have started," she murmured. Alma swallowed. "Who?" Mama Ife did not answer. The next day, as she walked to the village square, she tripped over nothing and landed hard on her knees. The old men sitting under the tree shook their heads. "Be careful, child," one of them said. Alma dusted herself off, embarrassed. It was just an accident. But then came the whispers, warnings from strangers. A baby crying uncontrollably whenever she passed. A crow perched outside her window, staring at her with eerie stillness. And finally, as she found him by the river, standing knee-deep in the water, speaking to the wind. "You fight the inevitable," he said without turning around. Alma shivered. "I don't know what you're talking about." Ez turned, and for the first time, she saw clarity in his eyes. They were not the eyes of a madman. They were deep, knowing. "They will not stop until you listen." Alma took a step back. "Stay away from me." Ez only smiled. "You will see soon enough." She ran back to the house, her heart pounding. Mama Ife was waiting. "Now do you understand?" she asked. Alma shook her head. "No, and I don't want to." "This is madness, Mama. You and this village have lost your minds." Mama Ife sighed. The spirits do not care what you want. The choice was never yours. Alma turned away, refusing to hear more. But deep inside, a sliver of fear lodged itself in her heart. Something was happening. Something she couldn't explain. And it was only the beginning. Alma could not sleep. The events of the past day played over and over in her mind. Mama Ive's strange insistence. The villagers' cryptic warnings. And, most unsettling of all, as his knowing eyes. There was something deeper at play. Something she couldn't ignore. By morning, she had made up her mind. If she wanted answers, she would have to find them herself. She sat across from Mama Ife at breakfast, studying the old woman carefully. Mama, she began, keeping her tone light. Tell me about us. Mama Ife didn't look up from her food. What do you want to know? Everything. Mama Ife sighed. You are stubborn, just like your father. Alma leaned forward. So you do know something. Mama Ife took a long pause before speaking. As was not always like this. Alma's breath caught. She had expected resistance, but instead, her mother was opening the door to the truth. He was once a great warrior, Mama Ife continued. Respected, feared in battle, the pride of this village. Alma frowned. Then what happened? Mama Ive's lips pressed into a thin line. He vanished. Alma echoed. One night, he went into the forest and never came back. The elders searched for weeks, but he was gone. When he returned years later, he was different. Alma shivered, recalling the way he spoke to invisible things, mad. Mama Ive's sharp gaze met hers. Or cursed. Alma's stomach tightened. Cursed by who? But Mama Ife only shook her head. That is not my story to tell. Determined, Alma set out to find others who knew the truth. She wandered through the village, stopping to speak with the elders, the hunters, even the women who gossiped by the well. At first, they were reluctant, avoiding her questions. But piece by piece, the story unfolded. Many years ago, Es had been more than just a warrior. He was nobility, born of a royal bloodline long thought lost. He had led his people with strength and wisdom, until the night he disappeared. Some say he was taken, whispered an old man named Okoro. Taken by what? Alma asked. Okoro shook his head. Not what. Who? Alma's pulse quickened. Who took him? A priest, he murmured. A wicked one. Alma's mind raced. Why? Another elder, Mama Chidima, leaned in. Because Es was never meant to be just a warrior. He was meant to be a king. Alma's heart pounded. A king? Mama Chidima nodded. He is the true prince of the hidden kingdom of Umudim. Alma inhaled sharply. She had heard of Umudim only in whispers, a lost kingdom, swallowed by time and war. Some said it never existed. Then, why is he here? She asked. Why is he mad? Mama Chidima's voice dropped to a whisper. The priest feared him. He cast a powerful curse, stripping Es of his memories and binding him to the spirits. The only way to break it is... She stopped, suddenly looking fearful. Alma grabbed her hand. Tell me. Mama Chidima shook her head. No, it is dangerous. But Alma was relentless. She kept digging, speaking to anyone who would talk. And finally, the last piece fell into place. Es's curse was not meant to last forever. It was woven with a loophole, one that the priest had desperately tried to conceal. The curse could only be broken by one person, his destined bride. Alma sat in stunned silence when she heard the final truth. Mama Ife had known all along. That night, she confronted her mother. You lied to me, she accused. Mama Ife sighed. I did not lie. I waited for you to see the truth yourself. Alma's hands trembled. I am the key to breaking his curse. Mama Ife nodded. Yes. Alma swallowed hard. I don't even know him. You will, Mama Ife said, if you are willing to open your heart. Alma looked away, her mind a whirlwind of emotions. I don't believe in fate, she whispered. Mama Ife's voice was gentle. Then believe in what you have seen. The signs are all around you, my daughter. Alma stood pacing. And if I refuse? Mama Ife's expression darkened. Then Es will remain cursed, and our enemies will win. Alma stilled. Enemies? Mama Ife nodded. The priest's followers still exist. They do not want Es to return. If they discover that you know the truth, they will come for you.